Hello, class, and welcome to Lecture 2 of Chapter 2. In this lecture, we're going to go over chromosome, sex-linked, and gene-linked abnormalities. But before we can talk about abnormalities, we have to look at what is normal. So when we're thinking about normal sex chromosomes, females have XX for their sex chromosome, and males have XY. But for many times that is not always the case for people. They may experience chromosome abnormalities. And when we talk about abnormalities, we're talking about when a cell is formed, the cell may not have the correct number of chromosomes. So for example, we may have chromosomes that are missing, or you may have cells where there are too many chromosomes. And you can also have in the cell where it's only a part of a chromosome. And remember, like we talked about in the past lecture, all of abnormalities that are on the gene and chromosome level, that is going to directly affect someone's phenotype or how that individual looks. And the first type of chromosome abnormality that we're going to talk about is Down syndrome. Down syndrome affects 1 in 700 children, so it's quite common in the world. And the reason why people have Down syndrome is because they have an extra copy of chromosome 21. So they have too many chromosomes. So they have an extra copy of chromosome 21. There are physical characteristics of Down syndrome that include extra skin over the eyelids. They may also have a flattened skull and a round face, shorter limbs compared to someone that does not have an extra copy of chromosome 21. Down syndrome is also affiliated with disabilities, and some disabilities that are affiliated with Down syndrome include disabilities that deal with motor development and also intellectual development. A sex-linked chromosomal abnormality that we're going to talk about is the Klinefelter syndrome. And the Klinefelter syndrome affects males. As I stated when we talked about sex-linked chromosomes, a typical male has an XY chromosome for their sex chromosome. But in terms of the Klinefelter syndrome, males have an extra X chromosome. So instead of having XY, they have XXY. And this addition of XXY is going to directly influence their phenotype or how they look. So males that have Klinefelter syndrome will have undeveloped testes, or they may have enlarged breasts because they have that extra X chromosome. There is another chromosome abnormality, but the Turner syndrome that we're going to watch this video on only affects girls. So we're going to take a look at this.
Hello, in this health sketch we want to talk to you about Turner syndrome. Turner syndrome is a genetic condition that only affects girls. It's named after Dr. Henry Turner, who discovered the syndrome in 1938. On average, for every 2,000 girls born around the world, one of them will have Turner syndrome. Why does Turner syndrome occur? Unlike other genetic conditions, it's not inherited from parents and has nothing to do with a mother's age or environment. Instead, it happens randomly based on how a girl's genes are first formed. Our genes are like a code which determine how we look and how our body works. All of these genes are wrapped up in 46 chromosomes, which are found in every cell of the body. Of these 46 chromosomes, one pair is different between boys and girls, the sex chromosomes X and Y. Boys have an X and Y chromosome, while girls have two X chromosomes. In girls with Turner syndrome, the second X chromosome is missing or altered in some way. Because of this, their body develops slightly differently. The syndrome is very variable, and some girls have very few symptoms. So what are the common features of Turner syndrome? Nearly all girls are shorter than average, and their ovaries don't work properly. The ovaries make the hormones estrogen and progesterone. With less of these hormones, girls with Turner syndrome may not have a growth spurt and may not have periods as usual. There are also other more subtle physical differences, for example, having a wide neck or slightly puffy hands and feet. Sometimes these features can be picked up on a pregnancy scan, but Turner syndrome is usually diagnosed after birth. In fact, diagnosis can happen at any age, and because the main features only occur at puberty, some girls aren't diagnosed until they become teens. The test for Turner syndrome involves analyzing the chromosomes from a blood sample called karyotyping.
So that just gave you a little information about Turner syndrome and how it affects girls. And again, Turner syndrome only affects girls. There are also gene-linked abnormalities, and harmful genes can be the cause of abnormality. So there can be some genes that are harmful. So the first gene-linked abnormality that we're going to talk about is the phenylketonuria, in other words, PKU. And what happens is that the body cannot break down amino acids. And this is because there is a recessive gene that is not normal. The gene is not functioning correctly. That abnormal recessive gene is not functioning correctly, and therefore the cell cannot break down the amino acid. Thankfully, PKU is easily detected, and PKU is also a very hot issue in the nature-nurture debate, because even though this is an issue or disease that is solely based on your genes, it is treated purely by diet. So if you have a good diet, then you're able to take care of PKU and you can live a healthy life. So I want you all to remember PKU and remember that it can be treated purely by diet. The last type of gene-linked abnormality that we're going to talk about is sickle cell anemia. Sickle cell anemia is very prominent in the African American community. As I stated, what happens on the gene level, the cell level, is going to directly affect the phenotype, or how one looks or how one feels. So in this case of sickle cell anemia, instead of the red blood cells that are circular, the red blood cells are hook-shaped. And another word for hook-shaped is sickle, hence the name sickle cell anemia. If a red blood cell is sickle-shaped or hook-shaped, it cannot carry oxygen properly, which means that your body is not going to receive adequate oxygen. And the reason why that is important is because if your body is not receiving adequate oxygen, that can result in heart failure. It can result in kidney failure, and it can also result in swelling of joints. It can also cause anemia and early death. So you want to be sure to understand what is sickle cell anemia. Remember, it's just hook-shaped red blood cells that can't carry oxygen properly. And it's very common in African Americans. Okay, that is all that I have for you today. I'm going to see you all on the next video. Bye.